The court will call 24 CF 1048, State of Wisconsin versus Taylor Schabusiness appearances.
Stop it. Stop it. Rachel, call. Taylor, stop. You went off on your attorney, Taylor. You went crazy on your attorney.
Yeah, let's just go to secondary.
Taylor, can you walk?
Oh, yeah.
At this point, I'm going to put a motion in the withdrawal from this matter.
September 26, 2023. Green Bay, Wisconsin. The courtroom air is thick, charged with a tension that borders on nausea. There is no quiet dignity here. Instead, there is the unsettling sound of metal shackles clinking against a wooden chair and the muffled whispers of a public that has become morbidly obsessed with a monster. At the defense table sits Taylor Schabusiness. Her eyes are vacant, darting, occasionally flashing with a smile that feels like a physical blow to those sitting in the gallery. The judge prepares to speak. The air seems to exit the room. Life in prison without the possibility of release. The gavel falls with a finality that echoes off the marble walls. A sharp, wooden crack that severs a 25-year-old woman from the rest of human history. For Taylor Schabusiness, the world didn't end with a needle or an electric chair. It ended with a calendar that has no final page. As we stand here in December 2025, 2 years into her term, it is becoming clear that for a mind as fractured and volatile as hers, death would have been a mercy. Quick darkness. Instead, she has been sentenced to the living death. She is a prisoner of the state, but more importantly, she is now a permanent prisoner of her own decaying psyche, trapped in a concrete box where the screams only bounce back at her. Stay with me, because the reality of Taylor Schabusiness's existence inside the walls of Taycheedah is far more haunting than the trial footage ever showed. The crime itself was a clinical descent into a level of depravity that left even the most veteran detectives in Green Bay scarred.
This is Cold Case Chronicles True Crime, where every silence hides a secret, and every story deserves to be heard. We uncover the mysteries buried in time, the victims, the motives, the truths long forgotten. Subscribe now and join us as we dive into the world's darkest cases, because every smile hides a story, and every mystery deserves a voice.
February 23, 2022. A quiet basement on Stony Brook Lane. The sensory details of that night are the stuff of nightmares. The smell of copper, the chill of a Wisconsin winter seeping through the foundation. The silence broken only by the sound of a serrated bread knife. Taylor Schabusiness didn't just kill Shad Thyrion. She dismantled him. It was a high-intensity explosion of drug-fueled psychosis and deep-seated sociopathy. Chaos. Chills. The police didn't just find a body. They found a house of horrors. When the officers entered the home, they found a bucket. Inside that bucket was a human head. But here is the part most people don't understand. This wasn't a sudden break. The missed red flags were waving for years. There was the history of domestic violence. There was the clear, documented spiral into methamphetamine and trazodone abuse. There was the time she removed her GPS ankle monitor and disappeared into the shadows of the drug world. The system saw her. The system processed her. And then the system let her go, right until the moment she had a human heart in her hands. Analyze her psychology for a moment. Is Taylor Schabusiness fundamentally incapable of human emotion? Or is she the end result of a brain so rotted by chemicals and trauma that the concept of self and other has vanished? She didn't snap in a moment of passion. She spent hours in that basement. She played with the remains. She made a choice to stay in the darkness long after the drugs should have worn off. If you've stayed with me this far, you aren't just a casual viewer. You're an investigator. We are a small community of 30 people right now who refuse to let these stories fade into the concrete. Hit that subscribe button and become investigator number 32. Help us reach our goal of 100 voices so we can bring more light to these forgotten halls. Now, let's look at the evidence they didn't want you to see. Now, we must look at the milestone erasure of a woman who is still effectively a child in the eyes of the law. Taylor is 27 years old today, in December 2025. In the outside world, this is the age of discovery, of career peaks, of perhaps starting a family of her own. But for Taylor, those human experiences have been deleted. She will never see another sunset without a chain-link fence cutting it into diamonds. She will never know the touch of a loved one that isn't preceded by a strip search. She will never own a home, have a bank account, or choose what she eats for dinner. Contrast her age milestones against the inevitable physical and mental decay. In 20 years, she will be 47. The vibrant, erratic energy that we saw in the courtroom will be gone, replaced by the sallow skin and the 1,000-yard stare of the long-term incarcerated. In 50 years, she will be a 77-year-old woman, a relic of a crime that the world has long since moved on from. She will be a ghost haunting the halls of an institution, her name a footnote in a cold case file. In the living death, the worst punishment isn't the walls, it's being forgotten. By subscribing to Cold Case Chronicles, you're ensuring these cases stay active and these victims' names are never erased. Join our first 40 members. Hit subscribe and make sure the truth isn't buried with the files. The inside reality for Taylor Schabusiness is a specialized kind of hell. She is currently held at the Taycheedah Correctional Institution in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. This isn't just a prison. It is a fortress for the state's most high-risk women. Because of her history of attacking her own legal counsel and her unpredictable violence, she often finds herself in restricted housing. The dehumanizing routine is absolute. The lights flicker on at 5 a.m., a harsh, fluorescent hum that vibrates through the skull. She is kept in a concrete box, often under suicide watch or administrative confinement. This means 23 hours a day with nothing but her own thoughts. The food is served through a metal slot in the door. Starch, lukewarm soy, and the metallic tang of water from a combined sink toilet unit. There is no privacy. She is monitored by cameras and guards every second of her existence. But what about the prison hierarchy? In Taycheedah, Schabusiness is not a tough inmate. She is a pariah. Even in prison, there are lines you don't cross. The nature of her crime, the dismemberment and the necrophilia, makes her a target. She is viewed as sick even by the violent. She exists in a vacuum of isolation, where her only interactions are with guards who view her as a chore and a mental health staff that can only do so much to patch a shattered mind. Let that sink in. She is a woman who thrived on attention and chaos. Now, her only audience is a camera lens in the corner of a ceiling. As we close this first part, we must maintain our no sympathy disclaimer. Shad Thyrion is the only victim here. A young man with a family, a future, and a soul that was ripped away in a basement. His pain, and the pain of his mother who found what was left of him, is the only priority. Taylor Schabusiness is not a victim of her mental state. She is the architect of a nightmare that she now has to live in every single morning for the rest of her natural life. But it leaves us with the ultimate philosophical dilemma. Is life without parole for a 27-year-old woman a civilized punishment? Or is it a living death that is actually more cruel than the execution she avoided? Is keeping her alive in a state of sensory deprivation and psychological decay justice? Or is it a form of revenge that we have simply dressed up in a robe and a gavel? Justice or revenge? You decide. But here is the part most people don't understand. The walls didn't just close in because of what Taylor Schabusiness did in that basement. They closed in because of the person she continues to be. It is December 2025. 2 years have passed since the sentencing, and the chaotic, smirking woman from the news headlines is gone, replaced by a permanent resident of Taycheedah's high-security wing. In the outside world, the horror of Stony Brook Lane has become a true crime trivia fact. But for Taylor,
I didn't want him to die, actually. He's my buddy, but like it happened. I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop. I felt bad because I'm like, damn, he's gonna be the reason after this. I'm like, might as well just kill it.
But when did you start, cutting up his body?
I don't know, like almost right away. I was sucking and cutting at the same time. I was dismembering the body.
Yep.
There was I mean, I'm going like this with a knife, so there's blood fucking going everywhere, sorry.
As Schabusiness explained, it started as what the victim believed would be kinky sex, but quickly took a darker turn.
You two being intimate, having sex.
It was getting there.
It was getting there. Okay. So will this be considered foreplay?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And then, I don't know. And then, I just didn't stop. I don't know why. I didn't stop.
You guys done something like this in the past?
Not like that.
Do you use manual strangulation during sex at all? Is Shad like that?
A manual strangulation? Yes.
He likes strangulation?
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, he does. Yeah. Yeah,
And you do too, or just him?
both of us.
So when's the last time you guys had sex besides potentially sworn?
Mainly me, but like we didn't even get it. Like, I'm sorry, but we didn't even get it.
Okay, so you didn't, alright, but when's the last time you did do it?
I mean, I played with him after. But, I have no idea, like August.
And what would you guys like to do? Is there a certain role playing that you did with Chad? Or was it just some sort of strangulation? How would you guys basically have sex?
Like, I just want you just go, yeah, and we go at it.
But does anybody like strangle the other person?
I like doing that alone.
Alright, so you like being strangled, like having your airway, or do you like doing it to somebody else?
I like doing it to somebody else.
Does Shad like to be strangled during sex?
I think so.
Have you done it before with him?
Yeah, he does. He likes it.
So when he put the chain on his neck, he thought that you guys were going to have kinky sex, right? You think that's what Chad was thinking, maybe?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I was gonna do the same thing. You know, I was going in, and I did, and I went in. But then he was like, choke me, but he didn't really say it, so I'm like, he put it on his neck. I already know I'm gonna choke him, and I did.
Schabusiness explained a dog chain was brought into the mix. She admitted to using the object to strangle Thyrion.
He likes it.
Alright.
And I was gonna walk him like a dog.
And he wanted that?
I have no idea what I was gonna do it anyway. There was a ring, and there's two rings, and then like you can pull the chain link from under the ring and then pull it back.
Alright, so then a loop at the end of the chain that could go around kind of like a dog choke collar?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, do you think it was a dog choke collar?
Could have been. Very much so.
Was it that size?
It was that size.
What size? Was it like a dog chain or a large lock type of chain? You
It
know
was
what I'm
like
saying?
this big. And then, you know, and then it has O-ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So silver chains.
Yes.
And he had two of them. And what'd you guys do with them?
We put them around their necks.
You did. Okay. And then what were you doing while they were around their necks?
I was strangling them.
You were strangling them?
I was having fun with them.
It was only when Thyrion began turning purple that Schabusiness knew he was dying.
So when did you realize that Shad was not alive anymore?
You know, his face turned purple.
Okay.
He was coughing up blood and he was pissing.
He was pissing himself. His face was all purple.
I still didn't stop. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what blood and then
So his blood was coming out of his
I kept on
mouth?
feeling his heartbeat. Hearing his heartbeat.
I'm sorry?
Hearing his heartbeat. Sorry.
Okay. Did you hear it stop?
No.
Okay. So,
I'm gonna try to do that.
did you figure he was dead then?
Yeah.
That's when Schabusiness admitted to officers she decided, quote, I might as well just kill him.
The chain goes around his neck and you start choking him. And you just realized that he was going to die or what?
I'm just like, I think I went a little too far because I was blacking out while I was doing it, right? And then and then I look at him, I'm like, shit, he's already purple. I'm like, fuck, I'm like, I don't know if he's fucking, is he good? But then when I woke up, during the blackout moment, I'm like, shit. He was coughing up blood. I'm like, I don't know, I just kept on going.
The reality is a documented series of violent outbursts and disciplinary segregation. Just weeks ago, on December 1st, 2025, she was back in a courtroom, this time in Fond du Lac, sentenced to an additional 90 days for a vicious assault on a prison sergeant and a nurse. Stay with me, because while the public thinks the story ended with her life sentence, her behavior behind bars reveals a terrifying truth. She isn't rehabilitating. She is escalating. To understand the evidence of her living death, we have to look at the psychological wreckage she brings into every room. The why behind her violence isn't just drugs anymore. In 2025, the drugs are gone. The trazodone and methamphetamine have cleared her system, but the darkness remains. During her most recent assault, she allegedly lunged at a prison sergeant who was simply trying to escort her to a medical room for a minor injury. When the pepper spray cleared and the handcuffs were tightened, Taylor reportedly just laughed. Analyze the psychology here. Even without the chemicals, she remains a volatile anomaly. Is she fundamentally incapable of existing within any social structure? Or has the living death stripped away the final layers of her humanity? She was wheeled into her recent 2025 hearings while shackled to a chair, a spit hood often covering her face. A visual reminder that even in a fortress like Taycheedah, she is considered a threat to everything she touches. If you've stayed with me this far, you aren't just a casual viewer. You're an investigator. We are a small community of 30 people right now who refuse to let these stories fade into the concrete. Hit that subscribe button and become investigator number 32. Help us reach our goal of 100 voices so we can bring more light to these forgotten halls. Now, let's look at the evidence they didn't want you to see. Now, let's look at the dehumanizing routine of her current existence. Taycheedah is over capacity. As of late 2025, the facility is operating at nearly 130% of its intended population. This means the tension is a physical weight. For Taylor, who is often kept in administrative confinement due to her unfiltered aggression, the routine is a cycle of cold steel and isolation. Her meals are served through a metal slot. There is no communal dining for a prisoner with her disciplinary record. The milestone erasure is already visible in her appearance. At 28, she has already lost the youth that her lawyers once argued was a reason for mercy. Her recent apology in court was brief and chilling. I didn't mean to go off on that H. Let that sink in. This is her reality for the next 40, 50, or 60 years. No weddings, no careers, no simple freedoms. Just the 90-day consecutive sentences stacking up like bricks as she continues to strike out at the only humans she interacts with, the guards and nurses. Her appeals have been systematically dismissed. Her attempt to overturn her conviction was officially dropped in June 2025. There is no legal escape. In the living death, the worst punishment isn't the walls. It's being forgotten. By subscribing to Cold Case Chronicles, you're ensuring these cases stay active and these victims' names are never erased. Join our first 40 members. Hit subscribe and make sure the truth isn't buried with the files. As we conclude this deep dive, we must maintain our no sympathy disclaimer. Shad Thyrion's life was ended in a way that defies description. His family has to live with the memory of that basement every single morning. Taylor Schabusiness's current struggle in prison is a consequence of her own unthinkable brutality. We do not defend her. We analyze her as a warning of what happens when the human mind completely disconnects from the soul. But it leaves us with the ultimate philosophical dilemma. Is life without parole in a high-security psychiatric wing a civilized punishment? Or is it a living death that is more cruel than execution? A slow-motion psychological disintegration that serves no purpose but to warehouse a monster? Is this justice for Shad? Or is it a form of societal revenge that we've sanitized with procedural hearings? Justice or revenge? You decide. The case of Taylor Schabusiness is just one file in a very dark cabinet. Tomorrow, I'm opening the vault on a story even more chilling than this one. If you aren't subscribed, you're going to miss the update that changes the way you look at the justice system forever. Don't get left outside the walls. Join the 40 of us here, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.